Hello everybody. Today we're gonna talk about how sweet drinks get more sweeter when you freeze it. Well, kinda. When it's unfreezing, when it's melting, mid-melting, there's still icy stuff in there. When you pour it out, maybe in your cup or something, and then drink it, it will taste more sweeter. We're gonna find out why. This is kind of just my thought. Well, firstly, about 2 months ago, it was Chuseok, which is a traditional Korean holiday thingy, kind of similar to Thanksgiving. Our family gathered around. We were eating a meal, and we also were drinking some Sikhye, which is kind of a Korean traditional drink. It's kind of sweet with a little bit of rice in it too. It's a rather good drink. I like it. It's very tasty because it's sweet. But anyways, to make that drink very cool, we froze it and we took it out and unfroze it. Melted it and then drank it. But for some reason, it tasted more sweeter than usual. So we got thinking, why is that so? So I got thinking like that, and my conclusion was that this is a very inaccurate drawing of a bottle of Sikhye. There's the drink, and well, firstly, this is not just water or anything. It's water and some sort of sugar named maltose and a lot of different stuff mixed within. So when you freeze it, the water's gonna freeze, right? Before that, water's melting point or freezing point, the melting point and the freezing point is the same. Water's melting point is higher than water and something mixed within, like maybe it's sugar or salt, whatever. And if you mix something in water, the freezing point becomes lower. So basically, let's say this is a cup of water and this is a cup of salt water, and we put both of them in a freezer, and let's say it's -5 degrees Celsius. Then well, the normal water is gonna freeze, but the salt water is not going to. Why is that? Because there's salt in the water, melted in the water, so the temperature has to be lower for the water to freeze, which means, let's say they're both frozen. Let's say maybe it was in a -20 degree Celsius freezer, and we take them out and we put it in this -5 degrees Celsius freezer, and then because the melting point or the freezing point, because they're the same, of the salt water, lower, it is going to thaw out faster. So let's say what's inside this is all frozen, and we take it out of the freezer and it starts melting. The parts that are going to melt first are going to be the parts that have more sugar in it. So let's say some melted and more sugar in that part of the drink, because, well, this part melted first, which means its melting point was lower, so it was easier for it to melt. Then what would happen is that the icy part is gonna have less sugar, not very sweet. Basically, that was my analysis for why the things that melted first were more sweeter than just a drink when it was not frozen. And talking about sugar, I also got this question a few months ago, I think. It was this question: why do animals and humans, well, humans are animals, why do animals feel glucose or any other forms of sugar sweet? When I'm saying sugar here, I don't mean the long chain particles of it. The sugar that is all joined together and became very long, looks like a polymer or something, and is not sweet, like starch from a potato. Potato isn't sweet, and that's because its molecule is too large for us to taste. Because how taste works is that we have loads and loads of cells in our tongue, and let's say this is one cell in a tongue. This tasting cell, this one's purpose is to taste glucose or sugar. So let's say a sugar molecule comes by, a very poor drawing of a glucose molecule, and it goes and it meets the cell, and well, let's say it's shaped like that, so it can the glucose molecule can be stuck onto there. And when it gets stuck onto that, the cell sends a signal to your brain. Surprisingly, this is a drawing of a brain. It's a signal for tasting sweetness. And, well, then you feel sweetness. And also, if this was, you know, the sugar you get from sugar cane is formed like this, two glucose molecules put together. And it looks like that, and that is also a molecule that is very small and also acceptable for the tasting cell. That this molecule would also make the cell send sweetness signals to the brain and make you feel sweet, make you taste sweetness. Now, let's say this is a very long particle, like the starch from like a potato. Let's just say this is a potato chain, the chain of glucose in a potato. So the starch, and when you taste, well, this is also very good for your body. It makes energy just like glucose or sugar, but this one is very long. So basically, it's very hard for the cell to absorb the molecule and send the signal to the brain. So basically can't, because the molecule is too big. Well, firstly, that's the reason you can't feel sweetness from potatoes, but that would be very cool. It would have been a benefit for animals if they could feel sweetness from potatoes, which would make them eat more, feel joy from eating potatoes, and that would make higher chance of surviving, because the animal would have lots and lots of energy just in their body, and that would make just a better runner, a better climber, or whatever that animal does. Basically, that's the reason why you can't feel sweetness from potatoes. And now we're gonna go on to, why do we feel sweetness? Just why do we feel sweetness at all? Why do we need sweetness? Well, as I just said, when you feel sweetness, it gives you a sort of happiness. If you're happy after eating something, which gave you energy, it benefits your body, and it gave you happiness while doing that. It would make you, if you feel happy while doing that, and the happiness goes away quickly, you'll find yourself doing the same thing to make yourself happy again. Because, well, feeling happy is a good thing. So basically, let's say you're out in the wild. It's not the modern era, it's just you're just a wild animal. When the humans weren't civilized at all, the hunter-gatherers, they would search for food, and let's say they would eat a berry, which there are a lot of sugar in it, and if you eat it, it's gonna give you quite a lot of energy, and it felt sweet, so you might want to do it again. So you eat a second berry, you also feel good again, so you keep doing that. That's storing energy into your body, which makes you a better survivor. Because, well, if you have low amounts of energy, and let's say a lion is chasing after you, you got not much energy, so you're not gonna be able to run for long. But if you are storing lots and lots of energy, you're gonna at least able to run a little bit more. So basically, I'm saying here that would make at least a little bit more probable of surviving. I also talked about this subject with my dad, and my dad asked me what would have happened, or would it not benefit if you felt bitter while eating sugar, while eating glucose. And my thought to that one was, let's say there are two groups of ancient human. This one feels sweetness while eating glucose. This one feels bitterness while eating glucose. So, sweet and bitter. And this one is going to like eating stuff with glucose in it. Because, well, firstly, he would know that he has to eat something because he feels hungry, but, well, that's gonna be same for both. But this one is gonna like eating because it feels sweet. Let's say just they're eating apples for their main apples are their main diet. This one is gonna like eating, but this one is gonna while eating apples, he's gonna think, this is very yucky, I don't like eating this apple, because he's gonna feel bitterness. So almost all of the times this one is gonna have more energy stored in his body, so that will make a higher chance of surviving, and that will make a better chance of reproducing also. Reproducing makes takes energy too. So let's say this one so this one might reproduces, which and the next generation of this mankind, they feel, when they're eating apples, they feel sweetness too, but this guy over here is gonna have less energy stored in its body. So first of all, less survival rate, and also less chance of reproducing because low energy. So let's say it reproduces too, but these guys over here also feel bitter while eating apples, which, let's say, because this group of people has the lower probability of surviving, one dies. Then, while over here, more people are in the next generation, more people are getting born, but over here in the group B, there's gonna be, well, it's just gonna go downhills because less survival rate, less probable for reproduction. So in the long run, this group is gonna get eliminated. It's just gonna disappear because it had the worser probability for their genes to survive. Well, these genes are very high. They have a very high probability for the genes surviving. I think that's why we feel sweetness out of sugar and glucose and stuff, and because it benefits us. But, well, I guess these days people are eating too much sweets and getting very fat, and so maybe in the modern era, a little bit of bitterness would help too. A little bit more healthier body. Well, anyways, this video was just about my thoughts about sugar and about sugar getting melted in water, and about sugary things feeling sweet, benefiting us. And I hope you enjoyed, and bye.